So look, check this out. So some people on death row and stuff, and
imagine having to go through that.
Yeah, and then you have your last words.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm totally against the death penalty. Some people for it. I'm against it.
Me too.
I'm not for it. I'm sure a lot of people have a bunch of last words they say. I'm sure some crazy things.
Yeah,
like,
I think sometimes it's crazy. Sometimes it's people apologizing. Sometimes it's, there's all kinds of things that I think
some
happen.
people, I didn't do it. Some people probably didn't do it.
Right.
And they've been framed.
We know that there are innocent people framed all the time.
Yeah, a lot of innocent people. And then some
convicted.
people who lie and take that stuff to their grave.
And some people might actually end up confessing
Yeah.
by the time they get to this point, and asking for forgiveness, which is a good thing.
Yep.
So.
But top scary last words from prison inmates,
man. Yeeks.
So we're gonna dive right into this bad boy.
Before a convicted felon is executed by lethal injection or in the electric chair, it is usually customary for the criminal to have one last opportunity to address the public with their final.
Yeah, I don't think they still do electric chairs no more.
I think it's just lethal injection everywhere. I might be wrong. Are there still some states using the very antiquated electric chair? But I really don't think so.
That is really torturous and brutal.
It would be very inhumane. I'm pretty sure it's just lethal injection.
Yeah, I think with the lethal injection, I don't think you feel nothing.
No, not at all. Because they purposely, like, one of them is like, they put you to sleep and basically knock you out, and then they just basically stop your heart. So you don't feel anything at all.
Yeah, I guess they try to do it in
the most humane way you can.
Last words. Sometimes inmates take this opportunity to make peace with their actions, while others say a chilling statement that is aimed to shock or upset people. There have been a ton of chilling last words from inmates right before they take their last breaths. So you know what? Let's take a look at this. This is the top 10 scary last words from prison inmates. Starting things off, at number 10, we have Robert Alton Harris. He said, "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper." He was arrested on July 5th in 1978 when him and his brother
trying to rob?
Yeah.
You could be a king or a street sweeper.
Yeah, but everybody
dance with the Reaper.
Dances with the Grim Reaper.
This dude trying to bust a flow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Before we go out. Yeah. And they probably didn't have rap back then, because what year it said it was? I don't know what year it was.
I don't remember already.
Unless if it was like in the 40s and 30s and 50s, yeah.
I think it was a while ago, but
yeah, boy, busting flows.
Hijacked a car with 2 teenage boys in it. They ordered them to drive to a remote location where their brothers brutally murdered them, and then they used the vehicle as a getaway car when they robbed a San Diego bank. Robert Harris was arrested just 1 hour after the robbery, and he was charged with murder and auto theft, kidnapping, burglary, and bank robbery. One of the arresting officers was the father of one of the murdered boys, but he didn't realize that the victim was his son until later. He wasn't even able to recognize.
Bruh.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Oh, that poor parent.
Horrible, man. This is damn.
His son's face. That's how violent the murder was. Robert Harris was sentenced to death in 1979. After many appeals, he was finally executed in San Quentin's gas chamber on April 21st, 1992. Moving up this list with George Engel in at number 9. He was an anarchist who didn't like to follow any sort of rules or regulations. He was involved with a lot of activism and protests in the Chicago area. A protest bombing took place in Haymarket Square in Chicago that resulted in the death of 7 police officers, 4 civilians, and a lot of other people who were seriously injured. George Engel was actually at home playing cards while this riot broke out, and he was arrested the next day and charged with conspiracy in the bombing. He was convicted and sentenced to hanging, but before he took his last breath, he said, "Hurrah for anarchy. This is the happiest moment of my life."
He's happy about it.
Let's take a look at this.
Because he was a martyr.
Yeah,
he was basically saying, like, yay for anarchy, like, I won in a sense.
You know what's crazy when he first mentioned this? You know what I'm saying? I thought he said 1982. You know what I'm saying? No. And then I started looking at the picture like, man, why this guy like he from the 80s? From the 1800s, man.
I think it was probably 1800s.
I think it's 1882, but I'm like, what's up with this guy, man, living in the 1800s and stuff? And then I was like, okay, he said 1882. But yeah, man. He was ready to die. Yeah. He was like, screw it, man.
He was for the cause, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Roger Keith Coleman makes his last statement in at number 8. His case gained nationwide attention and major controversy because he maintained his innocence the whole time during his conviction and even right before he was executed. During his final last words, he said, "An innocent man is going to be murdered tonight. Wow. When my innocence is proven, I hope Americans will realize the injustice of the death penalty as all other civilized countries have." He was convicted in Virginia for assaulting and murdering his sister-in-law on the day that he has been laid off from work. After his death, the DNA evidence was reanalyzed, and in January 2006, the governor announced that the testing of the DNA evidence has conclusively proven that he was guilty of the crime.
So he was
great and all,
so pretty much.
Don't you think?
So pretty much he was guilty. You know what I'm saying?
That's what the DNA evidence is pointing to.
Yeah, but we really don't know for sure. No. But the evidence points to him actually did it. Now maybe he didn't do it, and something was faulty with the DNA. But I don't know, man. It's kind of hard because DNA doesn't lie. Yeah, I had to know more.
DNA is usually pretty accurate.
Yeah, DNA
but the question is, like, what DNA? Could have been touch DNA, because if it was his sister-in-law, clearly he would have been around her. Yeah. So I'd have to hear more about that specific case to have it.
I'm curious about, looking into that case, man. But he stayed firm. Like, nah, I didn't do it.
Which makes you really wonder.
It does.
You know what I mean?
I think you should have done 1,000 tests on the DNA before you executed him. It makes no sense. What if the DNA evidence proved that he wasn't guilty? Yeah. What would the press conference look like then? Oops, we made a massive mistake and killed an innocent man. My bad. And now at number 7, we have Timothy McVeigh. He infamously said, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." If you guys remember, he was the one behind the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people and injured over 680 others. This bombing is actually the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in the United States. His execution date was set for June 11, 2001, and he made a request to have it publicly televised, but this motion was denied. He invited a composer to perform classical music on the night of his execution, and he requested to have a Catholic chaplain. He also requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream as his last meal. He was executed by lethal injection, and his wait to be executed was way shorter than most inmates waiting on death row. He only spent about 4 years on death row, while most inmates spend an average of 15 years. The infamous Jeffrey Dahmer is next up at number 6. He was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms for murdering 17 men and boys in the Milwaukee area, and this is between 1978 and 1991. He was also heavily into necrophilia, and he kept his victims' body parts in the freezer.
I didn't realize Jeffrey Dahmer went that long. I didn't realize it went into 1991.
Yeah, I thought he got killed in prison, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. Well, they're making it sound like he was the death penalty. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I thought he
maybe
got
there were last words before he got killed. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe there's another guy, but I could have sworn I thought he got killed in prison.
Freezer, so that he can just eat them later. The interesting part of the story is that Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't given the death penalty. His inmate actually beat him to death because he said that Jeffrey Dahmer was a sick and creepy man. And he was. He used to make this person food look like human body parts, and he would cover them in ketchup to resemble blood. So according to Jeffrey Dahmer's murderer, his last words were, "I don't care if I live or die, go ahead and kill me." And now at number 5, we have Tom.
I thought I read he felt guilty for all the things he did.
Oh, really? Like he actually did?
I think so. I could be wrong, man, but I thought he felt guilty. I thought
I
thought he became a born-again Christian or something like that, and gave his life to Jesus and stuff like that. And he felt that if he was to die, so I was killing him, he deserve it. I could be wrong, but that's what I thought I read about.
Tom Blackjack Ketchum. He was an outlawed cowboy who murdered someone in 1895. After that, his gang fled to New Mexico, where they committed more robberies before he was captured during an unsuccessful attempt to rob a train. He was quickly arrested, put on trial, found guilty, and sentenced to death by hanging. When his execution date arrived, it was the biggest public display in the area
that's really
because he was
torturous.
the first person to be hanged for a train robbery in New Mexico. However, things didn't go as smoothly as they hoped.
See,
before he was hanged, he said this: "I'll be in hell before you start breakfast, boys."
He want to go to hell.
And right after that, he said the rope completely decapitated him, and it is said that his headless body landed on his feet and stayed standing upright for quite some time.
What?
No way.
He had three famous
that's
last
very
words,
unusual.
and this comes in.
Did they have some kind of metal in there? I can't believe it decapitated him.
The rope
unless
actually.
there was such force, or
is that even possible and stuff? I mean, I know it can strangle you real bad, but like to take your head off like some rope.
If there's enough force behind it,
I guess. And, you know, people like, I don't know. And they say his body just stood up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
On his own 2 feet for a bit.
Yes.
Into number 4.
yeah,
he kept
and
it
Gacy.
short and sweet when he said, "Kiss my ass." I don't know about you guys, but I think I would have, a lot more to say for my final words than "kiss my ass." But then again, he was a textbook serial killer who didn't really have any emotions. He was known as the Killer Clown because he used to dress up as Pogo
I think
the
we heard about him
and
before.
perform at many charitable events and birthday parties. He took the lives of at least 33 young boys in Illinois, and he would bury their bodies underneath his home. So when he was convicted of sexual assault in 1968, the police were able to find all of the dead bodies that he tried to cover up. Despite a bunch of corpses being found underneath his own home,
he
maintained
his house.
But he was found guilty in 1980 because there was just so much compelling evidence against him. He was given multiple death penalties and life sentences, and finally, after being on death row for 14 years, he was executed by lethal injection. Aileen Wuornos is up next at number 3. Aileen had a terrible childhood that was full of abuse and abandonment, so it's almost no surprise that she went on a killing rampage that would define her as America's most infamous female serial killer. She worked as a prostitute, and she killed 7 men that picked her up along the highway. Aileen said that all of her murderers were out of self-defense, but she was also convicted and sentenced to death for 6 of the murders.
I think that's a little hard to claim when you go on that many.
Once, that's believable.
Twice.
2, it's a possibility, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
At some point in time, it becomes a...
Yeah, man. Well, at some point in time, where there's smoke, there's fire, man. There's smoke, there's fire.
Executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002. But before she died, she said this: "I just like to say, I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June the 6th. Like the movie, a big mothership of all, I'll be back." I don't even know what this even means, but I am pretty sure.
She's talking about the movie Independence Day.
What happens on June 6th?
Right?
Carl Panzram's last words makes it onto this list at number 2. You probably don't recognize his name, but he is actually known as one of the most sadistic American serial killers of all time. He had more than a dozen aliases, and no one knew anything about what he has done for years until he was captured in November 1928. Before his death, he confessed to killing 21 people and sexually harming all 1,000 males. Is this real life right now? And right before he was hanged, he said, "In my lifetime, I have murdered 21 human beings. I have committed thousands of burglaries, robberies, larcenies, arsons, and last but not least, I've committed sodomy on more than 1,000 male human beings."
Damn.
That is just
so he just captured guys.
He sodomized them
with something, either with his sodomized either with his own body part or something else.
I really want to know, but it sounds horrendous.
It's like, bro,
it's crazy that nobody knew that he was doing it until he got. He confessed. Like, I'm assuming he got arrested for something, and then he just confessed to it. I mean, he was totally bragging. He wanted credit for it.
Some people want to have bragging rights. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's like one of the things.
They want the attention.
Serial killers, they actually want the attention, and they want everyone to see how smart they are and how they were able to get away with it.
Like, but it's like, you're not so smart because you just announced that you did all these things.
But some haven't. I mean, like the Zodiac killer, they just found him, and it's been years. So some are able to outdo it.
For those reasons, I'm not the least bit sorry for this guy. The Vampire of Dusseldorf falls on our list at number 1. He is known as a vampire because he would occasionally attempt to drink the blood from his victims' wounds while they were still alive. But eventually he was arrested and sentenced to death.
Boy, you was that thirsty?
Maybe he just liked
You was that thirsty, man.
I don't think he was that thirsty. I think he liked human blood.
You could have drunk some water. You could have got you a soda.
It's not about being thirsty.
Gatorade. We won't Gatorade at the time he was. But come on, man. According to looking at the pictures, this look really old. You should got you a soda pop, man. That's what they call soda back then. Pop. Soda pop, man. Come on, man. Drinking blood. A man was drinking blood like he was Blade the Daywalker.
By beheading because he committed a series of murders and sexual assaults. He even admitted to killing a 9-year-old girl. It is confirmed that he murdered at least 9 people, but the police suspected that he brutally murdered a lot more people. So one evening before his death, he ordered a Wiener Schnitzel, a bottle of white wine, and fried potatoes, and the next morning he was taken to the guillotine to have his head chopped off. But before he left this world, he made one last statement that probably haunted the people that were at his execution. He said, "Tell me, after my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my head? That would be a pleasure to end all pleasures." I mean, after hearing that, I'm definitely gonna have nightmares, and if that wasn't enough, his mummified head is on display right now in the Wisconsin Museum after doctors tried to cut it open to find reasons behind his evil. You can't make this stuff up. Well, there you guys have it.
Yeah, man. I mean, a guillotine and stuff like you probably won't feel nothing, man. It's like instant.
Oh no, it's quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is quick, but it's just gruesome.
I mean, maybe you could feel a sharp pain for like a millisecond.
Maybe for a millisecond, but I think it's just so quick that by the time that your nerves would send that pain receptors to your brain, it's already gone. So I don't even think I think it's so quick you wouldn't feel it. But I don't really
he wanted to feel something. I mean,
he wanted to hear the gush of his blood.
Yeah, like
so clearly he had some kind of weird fetish or
he had a fetish, man.
Whatever with blood because he liked to drink human blood. He wanted to see or hear his own blood gushing. Yeah, it's just some weird. A lot of people.
He read too many vampire books, man.
Vampire.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know that he was trying to be vampire. They just dubbed him the vampire.
Yeah, man. This is crazy, y'all.
Yeah.
Crazy last words.
Interesting. I liked hearing some of these.
Yeah.
Some of them were creepy.
Yeah, man. Comment down below, man. What are some creepy last words that you read about?
I was going to say, I hope you haven't heard any.
What read about, you know what I'm saying? But we finna end this video. Nah, I broken. Get out of here. It's your man, Morty B.
And a goal.
I'm going to catch you on the next awesome. Peace and love.